The Voice of Mongolia in English is speaking.
Please welcome back. You are tuning to the Voice of Mongolia in English. We're running a new bi-weekly series of talks, Mongolia in the World, which tells about Mongolia's diplomatic relations with other countries and its foreign policy. In today's edition, we're gonna present a talk about relations between Mongolia and India. Mongolia has deep historical and cultural linkages with India over 2,500 years. The root of the historical relations lies in ancient literatures, languages, medicine, folklore, religion, especially Buddhism, social and cultural traditions. Buddhism was the first bridge to connect Mongolia with India in the Hunnu period of the 3rd century BCE. The historical Nalanda University was one of the favorite learning places for Mongolian monks in India during the 5th to 8th centuries. Let's have more details about cultural and historical link between Mongolia and India with Mr. Pesin, Indian ambassador to Mongolia.
Before touching on the establishment of diplomatic relations between our two wonderful countries, I'd like to mention that India and Mongolia have interacted as far as back in the history. Our deep-rooted people-to-people contacts of kinship and cultural ties date back to about 2,500 years, way back in Hunnu Empire. These special bonds are at the heart of India-Mongolia friendship and are the real drivers of our partnership. They provide vitality and dynamism to our unique, time-tested and multifaceted relationship. Historical evidences which are available here in the National Library of Mongolia and other places by the Mongolian scholars prove that Buddhism spread into Mongolian steppes from ancient India. Several ancient Mongolian scripts and literature corroborate to the friendly people-to-people age-old ties. Indian epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bodhisattva, Tripitaka, Tanjur, Kanjurs have been translated into Mongolian by eminent Indologists here. Currently, if I may share, there are about 700 to 800 monks studying in India. Is a shining example of collaboration in our relationship. Perhaps you are aware that my predecessor, Kushak Bakula Rinpoche, who has been ambassador of India to this wonderful place for 10 long years, was instrumental in setting up a monastery here, Pethub Monastery, and also contributed immensely to strengthening the spread of Buddhism in this part of the world. And to take it forward, recently we did a Ladakh festival here in Mongolia, which was attended by high dignitaries from all walks of life, government officials, Indologists, historians. All of those attended, and it focused on the similarities that exist between Mongolia and the region of Ladakh. Same temperature, climate, people, food, habit, cuisines, so much so the music. And of course, Buddhism that is there. To take it forward, we are also getting a mask dance troupe from Ladakh to perform here in the month of June. They will be participating in the Folklore Festival of Mongolia. And separately to this, we are also encouraging Mongolian troops to visit India. Last year, Mongolian Merangor and the dance troupe performed in India to a much acclaim in 3 cities. They also visited Bodh Gaya, by the way. And all of this points out to the fact that, the cultural ties are so strong between us. I'm not too sure whether you are aware that there are so many similarities in our language. The Mongolian Cyrillic and has close to about 400 plus words that have origin in Sanskrit.
Following the emergence of Mongolia as a modern nation-state in the 20th century, the two countries have continued to build relations based on shared historical and cultural legacy. Mongolia established diplomatic relations with India in 1955. It's noteworthy that India was the first country outside the socialist bloc to establish diplomatic relations with Mongolia. Since then, there have been numerous diplomatic visits and interactions between the two countries. Mongolia was supported by India in having United Nations and non-aligned movement memberships. Here we have again a talk with Mr. Pesin, Indian ambassador to Mongolia, commenting on the diplomatic relations and cooperation between the two countries.
And insofar as the diplomatic ties are concerned, in the recent times, our diplomatic relations were established in December 1955. The Mongolian embassy opened soon thereafter in New Delhi in 1956, and the Embassy of India opened in Ulaanbaatar city in February 1971. Bilateral cooperation covers almost all conceivable aspects of a relationship. We have strong cultural relations that are strengthened by regular exchange of cultural troops and related activities. The economic content of our relationship has been reinforced substantially. India offers support and assistance in capacity building and training to Mongolia, and so far about 4,000 Mongolian doctors, technicians, engineers, lawyers from all walks of life have been trained in India on special scholarships. We continue with the arrangement even now. And of course, you would have heard of the first ever $1 billion oil refinery that is coming up in Dornogovi from the line of credit signed a few years back, is a shining example of our cooperation. We are also in the advanced stages of setting up an Atal Bihari Center for Excellence in ICT and outsourcing. Procedural formalities have been completed, tenders have been floated, and we should be looking to start construction activity very soon. And in addition, our cooperation has further got extended into defense sector, IT sector, financial services, education, health sector. We are also exploring further avenues in the mining, mineral, dairy, animal husbandry, veterinary medicine, training of Mongolian doctors. So you can see there are a lot of activities that we have planned around to build and further deepen our relationship with Mongolia. Since the historic visit of the Prime Minister Modi in Mongolia in 2015, our partnership with Mongolia has been elevated to another level, what we call at a strategic level, in pursuance of Act East policy of India. Mongolia is a very important third neighbor and a strategic partner of India in this part of the world. Our special bonding with Mongolia is that of heart and goes beyond the realm of ordinary relationship. How strong and special is our relationship? It could be gauged from the fact that way back in 1961, Indian Prime Minister pledged special support for the UN membership of Mongolia and supported the sponsorship and resolution. Later, we also supported Mongolia's membership into non-aligned movement. In 1972, likewise, Mongolia supported India and co-sponsored UN resolution to declare Bangladesh as an independent country. So you see, India and Mongolia enjoy a very warm and special relationship. Our ties are strengthened by regular exchange of high-level visits between India and Mongolia. Last year, the Minister for Foreign Affairs of India, Home Minister of India, the Deputy Minister for Home Affairs visited Mongolia, and likewise, from Mongolian side, your Foreign Minister visited India, Defense Minister, Mining Minister made, I think, 2 visits. So this year we are planning a VVIP visit from Mongolia into India. So these are all of the factors that point out to the fact that our relationship and friendship with Mongolia is far stronger in this part of the world.
India is emerging as a significant trading partner of Mongolia. Mongolia and India have granted most favored nations status to each other with reference to customs duties and all other taxes on export and import under the Bilateral Trade and Economic Agreement. Mongolia exports raw wool, fluorspar, hides and skins to India, and imports mainly medicines, animal vaccines, mining machinery, auto parts, silk, yarn, and dyeing chemicals. The Indian community in Mongolia numbers over 200, according to Mongolian immigration figures. The most Indians are either employed in the public sector or run private business-like restaurants, which are popular with Mongolians and foreigners in the capital city Ulaanbaatar. The next year, Mongolia and India will mark the 65th anniversary of diplomatic relations. Now please have more details about that with Mr. Pisin, Indian ambassador to Mongolia.
Next year will be the 65th anniversary of diplomatic relationship establishment between our two countries. There are a host of activities that are planned around next year to mark this milestone in our relationship. We will have several high-level visits that are being discussed between the two countries. We are also looking at the possibility of hosting a Festival of India in UB City and surrounding provinces, bringing up exhibitions, cultural troupes, Indian Film Festival. Recently we did one film festival here in Shangri-La Cineplex, which was very popular. We would try to do that also. We are planning to get Indian cuisine, I would say, show up here. Two more sectors that we have planned is that an exhibition on best of Make in India, which is the thrust of Indian government. We will be bringing it up here as a part of these anniversary celebrations. We are also planning get-together of the Mongolian students who have studied in India under scholarship of ITEC and Indian Council for Cultural Relationship and other sectors. So we get a reunion of them and try to form a platform, either as a commonality of a Facebook or something, so that not only they interact amongst themselves but also remain in touch with us. We are exploring the possibility of release of a stamp, just as we are doing it this year to mark the 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. We are bringing up a stamp, something similar we are planning for the next year. And likewise, the Mongolian embassy in India is also working on a series of events to highlight our special strategic historical partnership. There are few MOUs that are being talked of in capacity building, in training, IT, English language, friendship school, and many more things that we are trying to do. We are also trying to train Mongolian technicians and engineers to prepare them for the oil refinery project, which I just mentioned. So all of these will form not one but many elements of activities around 65th anniversary celebrations here in Mongolia by the embassy and of course by the Mongolian embassy in New Delhi.
Mongolia and India have been exploring new horizons of mutual bilateral and multilateral cooperation. The visit of the Indian Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, to Mongolia in 2015 revitalized the bilateral relations, which are bound by a comprehensive approach from spiritual to strategic cooperation. Mongolia has been regarding India as an important strategic partner under its third neighbor policy to maintain geopolitical balance. The future of bilateral relations looks bright and will pick up in the coming years. Here we end this edition of the Voice of Mongolia in English. You heard the talk about diplomatic relations between Mongolia and India. The talk came to you in a new bi-weekly series of talks, Mongolia in the World, which details about Mongolia's foreign policy and its diplomatic relations with other countries. Thank you for staying with us for this half an hour. Have a good day and goodbye until we talk to you again.